Welcome to another episode of the Bill Chun Show. Dr. China here. I'm just kidding. That's what I was called recently. So I thought I'd use the line. You know, I was going to let this topic go, but I think I have to talk about it a little bit more. So the story is when I had requested medical information for one of our mutual patients from a large primary care practice north of Boston. This particular practice is owned by one of the largest healthcare groups in the country, Harvard affiliated. So comes the fax with the cover letter that says, Dr. China. I'm assuming that's me, right? I mean, it's the same patient. Dr. China. So I am assuming this person who must be at least 18, probably over 21, decided instead of either figuring out what my spelling was or write my name, Chun, decided to write Dr. China. And this becomes a part of official medical record. Once scanned, it cannot be deleted. So there had to be an intent. I wonder what the intent was behind that. Having lived in this country for now almost 50 years, heck, I've been called many things. When I first came to the United States in 74, I'm sure I was called many things, but I didn't really speak the language, so I cannot recall. In high school, I remember being called Bruce Lee. Hell, that would require a lot of plastic surgery for me to look like Bruce Lee. I wish I looked like Bruce Lee. After high school, I go to U.S. Naval Academy, and for over a year, I was called Chinaman. There, I volunteered to enter that great institution to be trained as an officer for U.S. Navy. The institute was trying to teach all of us young people to be obedient, to follow rules, and I did. So I was called Chinaman. Later on, out of military, working in Chinese restaurant, going through school, many names. Not too long ago, I was working out in Cambridge YMCA. And, near the boxing ring, there were just two of us. And this elderly Caucasian person walked by and said, fucking Jap. And I turned around and said, excuse me? And he denied saying anything. I should have corrected him because I'm a fucking Korean. But you know what? We all look alike, right? That's okay. I don't mind being called this and that. Because all the years I've lived here, I've developed rather thick skin. Because I can stand up for myself. So I'm called Dr. China. Okay, Dr. China. But what about the younger generations? They may react differently, right? And should we blame this person? Have you been watching TV lately? Our president still calls coronavirus as China virus. A few months ago, I posted a short video asking Mr. President, please do not call it Chinese virus. He doesn't call it Chinese virus. Now he calls it China virus. So if it starts from the top, and at least half the country is supporting our current president. So how do we fight this? First of all, whether it's our president or his opposing candidate or any candidates running for election right now, I think some of us would say, wow, is this the best we can do? I mean, I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I'm an independent. But look at our candidates. I have to say, there is a room for an improvement, right? And this is what makes this country so great. These less than stellar candidates have risen to, to the White House, to other high offices. That means there's a hope for us immigrant Americans. First generations, younger generation, there's a hope. If these people can reach such levels, you know what? I hope Andrew Yang runs again, and I hope other candidates are trying to get elected. I know there's one in as for the mayor of Boston. There's a hope. What makes this country great is you can do anything. And I have asked friends from every country. I mean, for my little practice, I have patients from over 60 countries. Every one of them will tell you what we love about America is that this is a land of opportunity. All of them are busy living, enjoying their little world because compared to where we came from, this country has everything. So we have all these ignorant people, right? Like this person who said Dr. China. How we fight that ignorance is to help our young ones to be educated. We nurture them. We help them to be good people. And hopefully, some of them will go into politics. And then, not too far distant, we'll have one of these immigrants sitting in the White House or sitting at some governor's mansion or as a senator, congressman, judge. That's how we fight ignorance. In 2020, can you believe it? I mean, I'm talking to you from Boston. I'm not talking about something that happened in the middle of Georgia or Iowa or South Dakota. In Boston. If this happens here, can you imagine what it must be like in other places? I also am not going to just ignore it. I do hope that I get a response from this office. I did speak with the supervisor, and I'm hoping that she would call me back and let me know what action took place. My little brother, who was on this program the last week, I think about a week ago, had said, well, we should reach out to that person and try to connect at human level. I say, little brother, hell no, that doesn't work. Some of us, I don't know. I think if you're over 21 and act that stupid, I don't know, man. I think we need to take some action here. But this is not going to end. This will continue. And 2020, right now, with upcoming election just around the corner, man, division is there. Anger, hatred, tension, panic, everywhere. For many of us, I say we just keep on living and take advantage of everything this country has to offer. And we show the same to our younger ones so that future generation can do better than us. Tonight, I have my friends from Albania. Many of you probably cannot pick out where their country is. This little country is just the other side of Italy, my favorite country, just north of Greece. And it's a little country with quite a bit of history. And I cannot wait to hear from Cleona and her husband, Henry. And I'm going to bring them up. And let's learn about Albania. So, here comes Cleona. Hello. Hey. Hello, my friends.
Hello.
How are you?
Dr. Chan, good.
How are you?
Hey, good. Look at those beautiful pictures in the background. Wow. Where's
Ahmed.
Amel? Where's the little one? She's asleep?
No, not yet.
Not yet. So, this program we invite friends from all over the world, and you're the first from Albania. What a little country with such great history, you know? So, I learned that Cleona, your husband, came here when he was 13 years old, and then you came here 5 years ago. Wow,
Yes.
huh? So, let's go back to 1995. I was reading about Albania. What
Mhm.
happened in 1990s? I learned that many of Albanians left the country to
Yes,
immigrate, including United States.
that's correct. Mostly Italy and Greece. That's when, the communism fell in the area, and a lot of people just freedom. They just hopped on ships to go to Italy or just crossed the border into Greece. Some, the lucky ones who made it into the U.S. as well, but that's a longer journey. So most of the exodus was to Italy and Greece, I would say.
So, how did your family get to United States? How'd you get the visa? You just applied?
So, my family was one of the early participants, I would say, in the diversity visa program that the US has. So it's about
Excellent.
55,000 visas are issued like worldwide. And I think Albania gets about 3,000 on an annual
Wow.
basis.
Well, you were
So
lucky.
we had a cousin actually who lived in the US who had escaped during the communist years. And he was the one who found out about this program. So he just notified all of us, and most of my family, like on my dad's side, applied for the visa lottery. So for that first year, it was my dad and three of his first cousins with their families who won the visa to the United States. So we just sold our house, packed up our things, and just
Wow.
took a journey across the
And
ocean.
and and your family did not speak English, right?
My family did not speak English at all. None of us spoke English. I had taken it in school for 2 years, so I knew some basics, but it wasn't even enough to get by airport security. So,
I mean, I remember because I was 12 when I came to this country, so I was about your age, so I know how difficult it was. So where did
yeah.
you first come to United States?
Where?
Where?
We
Boston?
landed at Logan Airport,
Uh-huh.
and for most of our time actually, we lived in Salem, Massachusetts. So our support system was there. So our
I
cousin
see.
who had us, apply for the visa, him and his family lived in and around the Salem, Massachusetts area. So we settled nearby so they could help us out at the beginning.
And then you went to school, high school in Salem area.
Yes. So I started seventh grade actually in the U.S.
Mm.
So seventh, eighth, high school, and then college after that, all in the U.S.
I did too. I studied seventh grade in US, you know?
There
And
you
just like you, I remember math was very easy, but everything
go.
else, they wrote I, incomplete.
Ex-
Back in 70s, there was no support system, so but they just let me keep moving from seventh to eighth, just, did not hold me back. But
Mhm.
it wasn't easy, but we got through, right?
Exactly. Yes, we did. I as well did really good at math, but was really
Sure. Well, you're an
bad at
accountant, so you
history
must be
and
good at math,
the
right?
other subject.
Now
Just the language barriers.
let's go back a little bit about Albania. So what I understand is after World War II,
Mhm.
um, in when it ended in 1945, Tito from Yugoslavia tried to take control for a little bit, and
Mhm.
then lost the control to Soviet Union. And
Mhm.
until early 90s, it was part of Soviet Union. Is that what I understand?
No, no, that's not. It was its own country, but we
Okay,
allied with the Soviet Union after
I
the
see.
war. So there was a lot of that influence, you know, in the region.
So, and then you went through college, and then you met this lovely lady. Was this an
Yes.
arranged marriage?
It was not. Actually, her cousin lived in the US as well. And just one day out of the blue, she's like, "Hey, are you seeing anyone?" And I said, "No, I'm not."
Okay.
And she's like, "Oh, I have this cousin who lives in Albania, and I think it's a good idea. You should talk to her." And on Facebook, actually, that's where we started
I see.
conversing at
Uh-huh.
the beginning. So that's all she did. She's just like, "Hey, I have and told Leona."
She asked me as well, "Hey, do you have someone? Like, are you seeing someone right now?" And I'm like, "No, why?" And then we talked maybe for a month and a half, maybe on Facebook. And then Henry came to visit Albania. We
met.
And
And the
he
rest
got
is
stuck in
history.
Albania.
We clicked, and here we are.
Here you are. So, and fast forward now, you're having your second little one.
Yeah.
I mean, for Henry, you're like me. You lived here for 20 some years now, so you're Americanized,
I'm more American now than Albanian, yes.
really. And Cleona, you're still learning to be or adjusting to this country, right?
Yes. Like, it's still something new for me.
Uh-huh. And I
I'm
think,
still struggling.
well, no, I don't think you are. I mean, your educational background is clinical psychology and language.
I'm a speech and language pathologist. I have done just 2 years Master of Science in Clinical Psychologist, but I have never worked as a clinical psychologist. It was just a support for the speech and language pathology that I used to work with. Here in America, I'm working mostly in ABA field. It's applied behavior analysis with children with autism or development disabilities, because it was close with my profile. Because
you worked a lot with.
Yeah, and I have worked a lot in my country with this category of children. So I'm not doing speech, which I love, because here in America, they did not recognize my master and my license. Yeah, so yeah, but I like what I'm doing. I'm taking some classes for applied behavior analysis, hopefully to finish them soon, because
well, she's enrolled in a master's program.
Yeah, I'm enrolled
in
Well,
some classes.
I mean, but also, Cleona, this is not your native language, so you're in education, which you've overcome tremendous obstacle, and you are trying to apply your education from your homeland in this country. So I think the kids you are working with are benefiting from really two cultures, right?
I think so. Yeah, I believe
Yeah.
so.
And the reality is, with Henry being lived here in this country longer than you have lived in Albania, and Cleona just the opposite, that's a good mix of two cultures for your little ones,
So we try to kind of keep that going with our little one. So we try to encourage her whenever we are at home, we speak Albanian, because the grandparents that are in Albania, obviously they don't speak English. So we
Right.
have to save that, keep the culture alive.
Right.
We have to preserve actually our native language. So it's very important to us that she's exposed to that as much as possible at home. I also encourage my parents who are here to speak to her in Albanian as well. So, and then when she goes to daycare, obviously she's with her friends, and she's, I think English is taking over a little bit, but we try to find it.
But still, she does understand Albanian very well, and she does speak Albanian fluently, which I'm very proud of that.
I think it's so important, especially if you think about Albania. I mean, there aren't very many Albanians in Greater Boston, right? It's a small.
So I think it's grown a lot over the years. When I first moved here, we knew all the Albanians by name, I would say.
Yeah.
But over the years, I think the Albanian population has grown a lot. There's New York also has another, like, a large population of Albanians. The Worcester area also. The North Shore here in Massachusetts also has a lot of Albanians. It's certainly grown over the years.
So Koreans tend to use church as a social gathering.
Mhm.
So I think in Greater Boston, there are like 50, 60 church. And that's where all the Koreans get together. What about Albanians? Is there a particular religion that draws people?
So, Albania is actually a very tolerant country when it comes to religion. We don't have any issues related to religion itself. So, the majority is Muslim. I would
Hmm.
say about 70%. And then about 30 would be, either
Yeah,
mixed or Christian,
or
Orthodox.
maybe a
And
little bit more, but
yeah.
yeah.
So, and there's never been like a issue when people like marrying across their religion.
Hmm.
It's really nothing. It's very, very
Yeah, we do
easygoing, very.
respect a lot each other, and it's not a big deal for us.
Mhm.
Like,
What about you two? Are you?
So we are both Muslim, but
yeah, I think.
I don't practice it.
Hmm.
I wasn't raised with it. Actually, during the communist years, the dictator actually outlawed it. It was
Hmm.
all the mosques and churches were just destroyed, and it was like um, no religion was practiced. People would practice in secret,
Yeah, in their
just
homes.
in their homes or whenever. And then after the fall of communism, people started practicing again. But I would say here, people like in the Boston area, I would certainly say that there are actually Albanian churches that people used to go to congregate, Sunday Mass and all that.
Hmm.
Another big gathering is we celebrate our Flag Day, our Independence Day a lot.
Interesting.
So there's throughout wherever Albanian communities are located. Actually, in November around Thanksgiving, that's when our Independence
Independence
Day
Day.
is. There's a lot of gatherings, and like famous singers from Albania would come and be like
Make
offer like a live
concerts or
show.
parties.
So it's like a big
Hmm.
gathering event during the year, I would say. So it's Flag Day, and also the people like more like during the regular times of the year would I would say they do meet
Yeah.
at churches, but mostly in the Boston area. Here where we are, it's not. We don't have. There aren't any
Or at
Albanian
least we don't know.
churches
Yeah.
that we know of.
Cleona, so what about you? Do you practice your religion?
Um, maybe just by believing in God, but
Hmm.
not like going in places or things like that. Just I do believe in God. I do pray in God.
Sure.
I'm like I can go in church. I can go in like mosque. I'm like very. I don't mind. I mean, I
Hmm.
can go in church, and I have been in church.
But your grandmother was more.
Yeah, my grandmother was a little bit like very religion. Maybe the age or the time when she was growing up and the way how she was growing up. But with my family, we do celebrate every Muslim holiday, but
Hmm.
as well we celebrate Christmas, and we are happy to celebrate
There you
Christmas.
go.
So the most important thing I believe is believing in God and being a good person, and I do believe that religion makes us better people, and that's why I do believe, and I respect, and I'm like very happy to go in church as well, or to meet new people, or to go in mosque, of course.
I think that's true of many of us. Hey, anyway, do you have any when you were growing up, right?
Mhm.
Was it hard for you to get through schools? I mean, or by the time maybe high school was over in transition into college, was it much easier then or?
So I struggled a lot in middle school, so seventh and
Hmm.
eighth grade, and
Yeah.
also freshman and sophomore year in high school. It was tough because the language barrier obviously was one of the biggest obstacles that I had. Um, and kids were at that age are a little bit mean, I would say. They don't really
Very.
accept
They
any.
have no filters.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
They don't really accept outsiders easily. So the language barrier kind of made that even harder. So I struggled a lot during seventh and eighth grade and freshman and sophomore year in high school. After that, junior, senior year was a little bit better. My English, obviously, I was fluent in English. I was better. I had made friends, American friends, Albanian friends that I also went to my high school. So those years were a little bit easier in terms of like the social aspect of life. And then obviously college was just very easy. I
College.
had adapted, I'd integrated, so it
Sure.
wasn't any challenging. But those first few years, I would say, were very, very tough. Kids would make fun of you. You didn't know what they were saying.
Exactly. Exactly.
A very,
Yeah.
very tough years. But you get through it. It's just another step. But
So even though I have lived here for almost 50 years, I still think of myself as an immigrant. I always say Korean American. I am an
mhm,
American, but I'm still, my 12 years in Korea is what defines me. Do you feel
mhm.
that way?
Yes.
You can say no.
Yeah.
I'm very, I'm too much
Um,
Albanian.
so yes, I definitely don't think of myself as 100% American.
Hmm.
But it's like the immigrant dilemma, as they say. You don't fully belong to that country anymore, but you can't fit in here 100% either. So it's kind of like you're in limbo somewhere. But always I identify myself as Albanian. We have very high national pride. We take very, um, we're very proud of our heritage, of our
Hmm.
of our history. So we always, we love it when people ask about Albania. We love talking to people about Albania. So I would say, yeah, Albanian American for sure.
And much less so for you, Cleona, right? I mean, you've been here only for 5 years.
So yeah, I got my citizenship in America,
Hmm.
but it's like it's hard to call myself American or even Albanian American. It's
She's still 100% or 98%.
98%. I'm 98% Albanian.
But compared to where you are from, this is a better place to live. True?
Sure.
I mean, opportunities are
So
just, I always talk
uh,
about that opportunities.
I can say that I haven't struggled the way that you and Henry has struggled when you came in
Hmm.
America. Because maybe my only problem was because I came older here. I came when I was 26 years old, which is too much time spending in Albania. I had my work, my friends, my family. I have everything settled up. Like I had everything there. And here, starting from the beginning, the first problem was non-recognizing my school, like my
Mm,
diploma.
right.
Which was shocked, but I was like, okay, we'll handle this. And then was the other part, because every center here in America or every school that I have applied for finding a job has appreciated all my studies and all my work experience, and they have been very, like, very generous to me. Like I have, like they didn't, or they offered job to me, and they were like every time telling me how good they feel that they accept me to work with them and things like that. So I have been very, very welcomed, which I'm grateful, of course. And then the problem that I had with my first pregnancy, I'm grateful that I was here in America, and
Hmm.
I'm grateful to God, I'm grateful to you. So
I mean, sometimes things happen for a reason. And, you met your husband, you are here. I mean, it was a difficult pregnancy, but I think you can say that here you have more options for treatment and whatnot.
definitely,
Mhm.
yes. So I am lucky. And at the end, we have our family now, which is my happiness, which is our blessed. We have our daughter, we have each other.
I
We
hear
are
her.
happy.
That's her in the background. Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, we add something to this country because we bring different perspectives, we bring different experience. Um, I am very proud to be Korean, but here, now that I live here, I want to do my part. And my part is doing what I do for work. Even just talking with you, I think is doing my part because we add something. And what people are forgetting is we are all immigrants at one time or another. And I don't know why this all this tension is here right now. But you know, I mean, I talk about my growing up with an outhouse and how much I appreciate indoor plumbing. And I'm sure you have stories too, because we didn't come here because we were doing well back home.
True.
And
Yeah.
your parents, in their 30s probably, without, I mean, yeah, they had your cousins and whatnot, but still came to this country, sold everything, and to come here and start anew, it's not easy. And I'm sure your parents had some hard times finding right jobs and making sure that you are fed and whatnot, you know?
True. Yes, and the interesting fact, or funny, or it's funny now, but we actually sold our home to buy the plane tickets.
Hmm.
So it was a one-way trip for us. So we had to be successful in the
There you
US.
go.
Otherwise, but yes, it was very, very hard for them because the younger generation picked up on the culture, the language, and everything a lot faster, obviously, than the older generation. So they struggled a lot at the beginning, a lot more than, so they struggled in their own way. You know, the stress of having to support a family, you know, take them to school and pick them up and go to work at the same time and making sure everybody was fed. And so a lot of stress, I would say. A lot of a lot of hard work. You know, we had to, you know, stay focused and, you know, just give it our best because there was no going back for us, at least for my family. We had no home. We had sold all of our belongings. So we had to just adapt or die, as they say.
You
But
know, you're from Albania, and we have friends from Uganda and other countries. Same story. Sell everything, just come here, one way ticket with a bag, luggage with very little that's worth keeping, maybe photographs or something. And then you come here in this country, if you apply yourself, right? I mean, if one job isn't enough, if I wasn't doing this for a living, I know that maybe I'll have two jobs. Maybe I'll work 80 hours. Maybe I'll work 100 hours. I'll find ways because there are jobs. And this attitude that we have is because we come from places with so little.
true.
And I hear the same story, you know? Hey, did you have a grandmother when you were back there?
Which, oh, me?
Grandmother. Yeah.
Either one
Me?
of you. Yeah.
So
I still have.
she
You
still has
still
a
have.
grandmother. I had one grandmother still living when I moved to
Hmm.
the US. Um, and I don't anymore. She passed away. But yes, I did have one when I first moved here.
I feel like we all had grandmothers who raised us. I mean, I had a grandmother who raised me, and, you know, she raised me for 12 years. And that, you know, I credit my positive side of Bill Chan to my grandmother because she was very gentle, firm, and very nurturing, you know?
They do play a special role, I think,
Yeah.
the grandparents, especially in our cultures. There's a lot of interaction with the older generations, like a lot of like we don't move out of our house at
Yeah,
18,
we
for
live
example.
Mm.
together.
We live like all together, you know, all the generations from the grandparents to the parents to the
Even
kids.
even when you get married, you still live with your parents. Like if the family has two or more kids, some of them goes in their house, but the little ones stay with parents.
The youngest one usually
The youngest
stays
one, yeah.
with the old.
I mean, there's a
So
lot of positive thing about having that kind of nuclear family. This country is so darn big that often kids move away. I mean, and that probably is one thing that we're struggling with, right? Because we move away. New job, Arizona from Boston or Seattle, Washington, and especially now you have no opportunity to see each other other than Facebook. But I do see that many immigrant family tend to stay together.
True.
And who benefits? Little ones. They love that, tight family with the grandparents around. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's the best.
we all had a grandmother or grandfather that would spoil us, of course.
Yeah.
So they do bring a certain like influence in your life. They're very positive vibes usually. Just great experiences.
Too much love,
Yeah.
love that we need.
Just unconditional love.
I just really appreciate, I appreciate all my patients. I do. And just having this connection is so important to me.
True.
And I appreciate that you've been so kind, with you being such a great patient and so polite. You know, that politeness is very infectious. So, whenever you come to the office, we love seeing you. The staff, they
thank
love you,
you.
and it just that the way you speak and whatnot is very infectious. So the
We are blessed, Dr. Chan. We really are. We are blessed that we have you and all your staff because they are very nice, very kind. Like they deserve us being respectful and patient and kind. We are lucky.
we've been talking about mostly positive thing about this country, and I think I can kind of figure that out. But is there anything that's negative about this country since living here, since you're little, as a youngster up to now?
Um, so the negative aspects, I think, are when you come from outside. I think you can relate more to people who've had the same experiences. So a lot of my friends throughout my educational uh, like experience have been people who have come to this country from outside. So I found it easier to have a conversation with like someone from Korea or Brazil or Dominican Republic
Exactly.
rather than like an American because it felt like they wouldn't understand, where we're coming from and what experiences we've had up until then. So it was a lot easier always making friends or interacting with people from outside the U.S. The Americans I always thought were a little bit cold, not very family. Or I mean, they are family oriented, but not in the sense that we are from our country. I think we place a lot of emphasis on being, all together and, the generations, there's contact. And I think that comes to go back to your point, the distance here, it's so big. Like just going to the supermarket, you need to just hop into a car and drive for 30 minutes. Whereas in Albania, all you had to do is just go down the stairs and there's a
Right.
market like right there. So that closeness kind of transfers into, the relationships you have with your family and your neighbors and your friends. So it's a lot more closer knit community. Here it's you're too far apart, too far away. So it's a lot harder to make those connections, I feel. And I think Leona agrees with me on that.
Yeah.
Those are some of the parts that she misses the most about Albania, just the social life and being closer to family and friends. So that's the negative.
And the other thing is that if you live in Europe, your family, friends can come and visit you. Here in America,
A lot harder.
it's impossible or very hard.
Yeah.
So,
I mean that sentiment is shared by many immigrants, I think. Just losing that touch with your friends and family. I mean, my little brother lives south of Boston, and I saw him in person for the first time over a year, I think, by accident the other day. And he lives just an hour away from me because of his schedule and my schedule. So that's very typical. Tell us something encouraging in Albanian. Words of wisdom for fellow listeners in your native tongue before
Oh,
we
in our
go.
native tongue. Oh,
Of course.
let me translate.
I didn't get this part.
Sure. Fjärde gränsen.
Um,
So maybe Cleona can take this one. She's better at Albanian than I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, like
Well, her vocabulary is a lot bigger.
like
than
we
mine.
say kibesim, like
Have faith.
have faith that like that you will do it in this like everything you have to go through, you will do it. So that's why we say kibesim. Talumt is like good job or excellent or what else? Like we have lots,
Albanian expert.
like only encouraging ones.
Word of
Yeah,
wisdom.
any
Oh.
yeah.
Or fjalë të urta. We say gur gur bëhet kalaja, and we can translate it in
Oh,
English.
that's my favorite.
Yeah.
It literally translated, it means rock by rock, you'll build the castle.
Yeah.
So little
Perfect.
by little, you can achieve big things, but you just have to be persistent and keep trying. And little by little, you'll just have to keep trying
Totally.
at all counts.
And we will.
And we will.
And thank you so much for giving me your valuable time. I know your little one's calling, but this
Our
is
pleasure.
how we
Anytime.
share our journey. So thank you so much. I'll see you soon in the office.
Yes.
Good night. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much, Dr. Chan. Bye. See you.
So, lovely couple from Albania. And I'm sure many of you have never heard of Albania. I hear it has a beautiful coastal line that we should all visit. But same thing. Our stories are all similar, whether you're from Albania, Korea, or Dominican Republic, Brazil, Uganda, all the same. We all come here because we had much less. To hear that Envy's family had to sell their house to buy plane tickets, can you imagine? This was in 1995. So all their belongings, mainly the house, just was enough for plane tickets. So they come here in 90s. They worked hard. Henry is a successful accountant. His wife, just 5 years she's been here, and she works at a local public school. And it's amazing that she overcame the language barrier and she's able to provide her expertise to our young ones. Another great story, and I hope to bring you some more from different parts of the world. Thank you very much, and see you next time.